For a long time, I'd look at fighting games and I'd say, that looks so cool, but I don't think it's for me.
Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Sen, welcome back to the channel, and yes, I know I'm a little bit late to this trend, but I wanted to discuss the video made by Polygon about how to get into fighting games. This video is important and more than cool to me because I personally want to get more and more people on the fighting games because I love the genre so much. Now, if you haven't watched this video already, I would absolutely recommend it because there's going to be differences in what I'm saying related to the points brought up in the video. This video is someone new to the genre and getting into fighting games, and it's listing some pretty good general ideas about enjoying yourself. Please, please, please watch the video. It's rare that someone from outside does something right with the genre. Getting started with the intro of the video, it kind of goes over the perspective of being an outside spectator that kind of always wanted to do the thing, but never really got around to actually getting involved into fighting games. In my case, it actually wasn't this. For me, I didn't really know anything about fighting games, and I didn't know that there was like a pro or a competitive scene. I didn't know there was tournaments. I was completely oblivious to all this until much later in my life. This video is for people that are in a similar situation that just need like a little nudge to kind of help them get on their way. Let me say though that I think this video pairs extremely well with this video.
Oh, that was awkward to punish there.
While the Polygon video explains things and tells you what to expect, this video is like having someone else do it with you in real time, so you don't have to feel like you're diving in alone. And that's probably the first place that I would start personally before any of the points. If you have a friend that is just as serious as you are about getting into fighting games, I would absolutely recommend it. Having good rivalry or competition and like some level of personability with someone that you know is an absolute help. Like for a perfect example, like I have Vince, and when Vince and I are playing fighting games actively, we push each other to the next level. Like the more I improve, the more he wants to improve, and vice versa. And plus it'll create fun and interesting conversations from you both being beginners. And the more fun you have talking about the thing, the more it's gonna make you want to play the thing. Now, unless your friend actually is super serious about getting into fighting games, I would actually recommend away from this one. While I would recommend having a friend that wants to get into it with you, if your friend doesn't want to play, you're going to associate wanting to play with that friend. And if your friend doesn't want to play, you're not going to want to play. I've fallen victim a couple times to this where I'm getting into a fighting game with a friend and then I'm the one that's actually learning the game and the games aren't close anymore. I'm winning pretty handedly, and then it's the case of this isn't fun, I'm gonna stop playing because you're just winning. So know that that is a possibility. Just be wary. Moving on, but also attached to this is the first step in the video, which is
Step 1. Decide you want to do it.
Wanting to actually do the thing and get started is going to be what kind of keeps you going in rough times. It's gonna like keep you coming back to the game. It's what makes you want to improve. There have been a couple times where I've actually turned someone away from fighting games because I know that they just talked about getting into fighting games because they know I like fighting games. I was literally just talking to a friend after work, and they asked me, I was like, oh hey, like Brad, what are you gonna do after work? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna go home, play some Street Fighter 5. Really been enjoying the game, been having a lot of fun with it. Now, because my friend wanted to be relatable, yeah, like I really need to get into fighting games, bro. And all I said was like, I mean, you really don't have to. You don't need to. Only do it if it's something that you actually want to do. Pat kind of gives some advice to like share to someone that is maybe just hovering that edge, that just needs a little extra push to actually want to get started. And the first thing that he starts with is to watch matches.
He's gonna have to be careful though. He's in range.
He's gonna beat him.
He has to.
He got that.
Oh, you gotta be careful.
No!
And that's something that you rarely get hit by, but JDCR ready
Look
for
at the
it.
time. Look at the time.
He's gonna have to either stay on the
Look
ground.
at the time. Look at
Oh
it.
my God!
God!
JDCR with an amazing comeback.
Yeah, straight up. I recommend watching a tournament, maybe finding a content creator that you like. The more you watch the thing, the more you'll want to do the thing. Also, it's very smart bringing up Core Gaming. Core Gaming, I would 110% recommend. Jill does a fantastic job of breaking down things in a very philosophical, very psychological manner, and it's super informative, and it's a very cool way to like understand more about fighting games. Alright, next up, step 2, and that is to pick a game. Finding out what game you want to play can absolutely be tough. I'm pretty split on how to go about this one. Chances are, if you're fighting game curious, you might already have a game in mind, but if you don't and you're straight up starting from nothing, I would start, and I do mean start, with games that either will be or have been in EVO within the last couple of years. If you don't know what EVO is, it's one of the biggest fighting game tournaments that happens once a year. The reason I say this is because of populace. The more people that you have playing whatever game you're interested in, the better. But if you're interested in something a little older or maybe just a bit more obscure, you might have to go a little bit more out of your way. You might have to look a little bit harder to get where you need to be. The important thing is that you give a fuck about what you're playing. Now, you don't need this, but I do hope whatever game you pick has a rollback netcode in it, because it's just going to make things easier when it comes down to actually playing the game. If you're unsure, it's easy enough to search. With that being said, the main game that I play has delay-based netcode, and that's Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is getting rollback eventually, but the entire time and the lifespan that I've played the game has been with delay-based netcode. If you do end up with something a bit more obscure and a bit more niche, Discords are going to be your best friend when it comes to matchmaking or learning about the game as a whole.
Step 3, gearing up.
When I first heard this point, I didn't know what it's actually going to be saying, but it's just referring to what you actually need to play the game. The long and short of it is to not gear gate yourself. I've talked about this a couple times before. Don't think you need a fight stick or a hitbox to get started. I've seen it all before. You shouldn't spend $100+ on a genre that you don't know that you like. As far as platform to play on, most people either play on PC or PlayStation. Some games are crossplay like Street Fighter V and Guilty Gear very soon. So if you're looking for a controller, I would start with something that works with both of those. Unless of course you're playing Smash. Step 4, pipe check. All this is saying is that having good internet enables better and more consistent online play. Hard to make any real connections or see any faults in that, but at the end of the day, work with what you got. A game that has rollback will be able to help you out some, but even then, good netcode can only do so much for shitty internet.
What the f was that?
Step 5, we're actually getting into the game part, and that is to
Step 5, choose your fighter.
You'll have 2 to 3 primary takes on this, and I for sure agree with one in particular. Much like the game, if you don't like the character that you're playing, you're going to be less inclined to play the game. If people don't tell you to play whoever you want or you think looks cool, they'll probably recommend what they perceive to be a good beginner character. Fuck that, don't do that shit, play who you want, because it'll help you get through and over the times where things are getting pretty tough. The more you like your character, the more you're going to want to invest time in your character. The only other approach I can think of when it comes to this is picking based off a tier list. This method is really stupid to me because there may be a bit of a blame game if you're experiencing a rough patch. If you pick a top tier and you're doing poorly and getting extra frustrated, as a beginner, you'll not be able to utilize the things that make a character top tier to their fullest. There might be some nice perks at the beginning like good normals or specials, good damage, but there may also be things that are not that. Like this character gets crazy setups on knockdown, this character one chances you to death, the strike throw on this character is crazy. Someone told me in the comment section that Cody was a top tier, but because I'm not used to playing Cody, I can't make him look top tier. I've never played Cody, I've never played a character that feels like Cody, so for me, I'm just bumbling around doing my best with this guy. On the point of pick who you like, in Guilty Gear and in every Guilty Gear, I pick Soul because I enjoy Soul. Not because he's a beginner-friendly character, but I just like the character. I made him in Strive, play him in Rev, plus R, and in plus R, I either read a comment or did a random select and started learning Eno. After my first play session, I was lacking so much motivation that I didn't want to play the game anymore. But I sat down, told myself that I was going to play who I wanted to. I started picking up Soul, and after that, I was having so much more fun with the game. The game and character that you choose is directly linked to your enthusiasm. The title of this next step is a little funny to me because it's step 6, learn how to play, and if only it was that easy. Learning how to play for sure can be tough, especially when you're starting from nothing. For someone like me, it's not too bad because I've played other fighting games. This is where apprehension comes in for a lot of people. They think that there's so much to learn before you can even start playing and even find a match. I've said this a billion times that that's not the case. You would be surprised at how little you actually need to know to actually get started at a basic level and perform a very interesting version of the game. In most cases, there's a tutorial that will go over plenty of basics and maybe some unique mechanics to whatever game that you're playing, but you don't even have to go that far. There have been a number of times I have only done a portion of the tutorial and just hopped into some online games. You don't need to learn everything, you can learn over time. If you graduate what the game has to teach you, there's wells of information about whatever you're looking for. It could be mechanics, or a character, or a matchup. maybe some combo videos, so on and so forth. Using Street Fighter as an example, when I get started with a new character that I haven't learned before, I just take a look at their normals, their special moves, get some basic ideas for some very basic combos, know what my anti-air is, and then I'm good to start playing. It's not that much. I stopped looking at frame data because I don't need it at my level. I just want to enjoy and play the game in a very basic way. The moment I want to take things a bit more seriously into the next level is the moment I'll care to look those things up. And the same should apply for you. Step 7, fight. Fighting is literally the whole reason we're here. I've made a video recently about ranked paralysis. This totally applies to the other genres too, but people take ranked matchmaking too seriously. Much like the other point, they feel as if they need to learn so much before they can even start playing the game. The points, the rank, it's all Monopoly money. Your rank doesn't affect you. It doesn't mean you get paid more or have more sex. It doesn't mean you get anything better during tax season. I looked at ranked as my primary way to fight, and if I want to learn something, I take it to training mode, and if I want to practice that thing, that's what I use casual matches for. I treat casual matches like a real life training mode. In fighting games, you literally start at the bottom anyways. You can't really go any lower, so there's nothing to lose. In most cases, you're going to be paired up against someone of similar skill level. It's not a case of needing to spend 700 hours in training mode before you can play. Fighting is the fun part of the game, especially when you find an opponent close to you in skill level. It gets tense and the feeling is hard to replicate.
Step 8. Struggle.
This point is interesting because it's very true. You will at some point run into a roadblock where you don't know how to make any progress. To more closely go over what Pat mentions, the first big thing he says is that there's no teammates to blame. Closest thing you could blame would be your character, and guess who's piloting the character? This is totally fine though, it's natural at some point that you're gonna lose.
Self-doubt and frustration can feel overwhelming when you're in the thick of it, but it is all a part of the process of getting better.
And if that is the case, it's time to take a break. Taking a break is perfectly normal. It's totally okay to take a break. Don't think you need to play games at all hours of the day. Back in Dragon Ball, I was heavily stuck between Majin and Super Saiyan 3 rank, which isn't very high. It's not very high at all. I was literally flipping in between those ranks, and I put down the game for about a month, but the whole time that I put the game down, I was still watching Dragon Ball content. I was still absorbing information even passively if I didn't realize it. And then after I came back, I went on a tear. I was absolutely wrecking people. The first thing Pat mentions to combat this is to separate your self-worth from your performance, which for most people is extremely tough to just let go. Maybe closely related to this to kind of like help you get there would be to be a good sport at the end of every game or every round. I won't lie, I talk shit. I think it's fun, but I don't really mean it. And part of that is for the content, but at the end of every round, I try to say GG. Being positive towards a loss, even just a little, can turn your attitude around. Something good he says is that you won't always have the mental energy to play fighting games. This is absolutely true. Don't force yourself. If I want to decompress, I'll play a single player game. If I want to play something competitive, I'll just play a different genre of game. I'll play like an FPS. I'll play Valorant or Fortnite or whatever. But making yourself play the game is just gonna lead you into getting burnt out. The next thing he mentions is to watch your replays, and this definitely ties into improving and reaching that next level. You don't have to do this. Personally, I didn't really do this unless I really wanted to figure something out. With that being said, it is a good way to improve because it's hard to think of every little thing that you could have done with every little interaction when you're in the heat of a match. Something that maybe a bit of feels good is to watch some of your really old matches to see how far you've come. Pat then doubles down on the replays by saying that you can show someone else, and yes, for improvement this could really be good. In everything, they're your habits. You might not be aware that you have them. Having outside perspective can absolutely help with that. Step 9, pretty interesting, community and competition. This one's kind of tricky to add anything onto it. Legit, it's just find a place in a space that feels good to be in, primarily like a Discord, link in the description. Because playing against people that aren't just randoms on the other side of the screen just feels different. It's actually cool to be able to talk to someone. You'll be able to learn more, and it relieves some of the pressure. And as I said, Ravelry is great because each of you are trying to get to a new level. You're pushing each other. I've actually been trying to enter an online tournament. I just don't know which ones I can or cannot enter. I don't know if there's a cap. I don't even need to enter like a Dragon Ball one. I wouldn't mind entering something like Guilty Gear Strive because I know the netcode is better, but it's something I definitely want to do. And With that being said, I'm gonna try to go to Evo this year, and even if Dragon Ball's not there, I'll enter something like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter, whatever's out, whatever seems cool. I might enter multiple games. I would love to have some friends come along with me. So Brandon or Vince, by all means, let's get a room, let's sign up, let's do terrible, let's have a good time. And there's more than just the fighting game part. Like, Evo over the years has become more of a convention than it is just primarily a fighting game tournament. It was definitely primarily treated as the tournament, but now it's kind of taken more of a like, oh yeah, there's like shops and food and like vendors and cool stuff to do. It's changed a little bit. And finally, step 10, the end / there is no end. The journey is and can be infinite. This kind of takes us to the beginning of things, but I would recommend getting started with a clear goal that isn't far away. For me, for Street Fighter, it's to reach silver, but when I started Dragon Ball, it was to reach Frieza Clan because I wanted to platinum the game. With that being said, you need to know how to not lose sight of a goal. The most important thing that people can do that they just don't is to set smaller goals along the way so that the progression and feeling of achievement doesn't feel so far. And if you do happen to reach your goal, set a new one, aim for higher heights. You reached this one, right? I like this video a lot personally. It's great to see something from like an outsider source, something outside of fighting games, do a really good piece on the FGC. If for some reason you haven't checked out the original video, I would absolutely recommend doing so. There's a lot of good stuff here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys want to see more, remember to check out the rest of the channel. In the description, there's links to not just my other channels like Crouch Block, where I do kind of analysis videos, but also my Twitch. I've been streaming a lot more, my Discord, where you can join and talk about fighting games, play fighting games with other people. But also Mark is going to be down there, and also if you want some artwork done, you can hit up Vince at Vanilla_pandas on Instagram. You can absolutely request a commission. It's up to him whether he's going to do it for you, but he does some really stellar work. Check him out. And yeah, that'll do it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.